Okay. So we can use this. We're doing the correction on this call for the assignment, and maybe for 45 minutes. Then for the remaining 45 minutes, we'll continue with what we started with in the last meeting. Or does anybody have like any maybe any feedback you want to give, any question, any doubts you're having?
For me, I
Just
think say like I guess I might just need time. Like you already spoke to me about it. Like, don't worry. It will that's how it is when you start. But once you get going, you'll be good.
yeah. So, but from this assignment, what did you find challenging? What part?
For me, let me open my
I'm opening my up to.
Okay, DT, no problem. And sorry, DT, I made a mistake from my comment. I meant to say number four, not number five.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I'm correcting it right now.
Okay, all right. All right. Joseph, are you still with us?
yes, I'm here.
Okay. I thought you wanted to say something the other time.
Oh yeah, I was like, for me, it's like, how can I say? I think the technicalities of Python is like when you talked about like you have to understand the question and which particular formula to use. So if you look at the one that you open on your screen right now, for me, I think you saw my answer on that one, right? I felt like when I run it in my Visual Studio Code, it was good. But number four, I wasn't sure because I just say result equals 512 minus 282, you know,
Okay.
divided by 42.
I mean, this is like an intentional question.
It is.
And if you don't have a, like a, I mean, not very strong mathematical background, but you may find this confusing. This dot you're seeing here
Yeah.
is not for decimal. It means multiplication in mathematics.
Okay.
So let me try and show you what I'm trying to say. So I think DT will agree with me. So in mathematics, if you have something like this, two, and you have the dots on the
Yeah.
same floor, on the same ground as the figures, if you have something like this, 2.5, this means 2.5. It's a number.
Okay.
It's a decimal
Okay.
number. It's different from when you have this.
At the center.
When you have it at the center, yeah.
Uh,
This one means 2 multiplied by 5.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it means 2 multiplied by 5. Then this one is 2.5. So what I have here is multiplication for the 7.4 hits. But for the 7, then multiply by 4 hits plus 5.
So, which means you subtract the like 512 minus 282, then you get the answer for that one. Then
Yeah, I mean,
fourth,
it's pretty straightforward.
it
Pretty
is, right?
straightforward. So I just wanted to like test for your understanding of this. Let's say you were given with let's say you're doing your PhD and you were to write a program that computes something like this. Are you going to get
Uh-huh.
it or not? So let's
Mm.
just jump into the correction. I think
Okay.
DT actually did. Okay, DT, would you permit? I've not been able to review um Joseph's work because he submitted a bit late. So would you mind us using his work as template for the
Yeah,
correction?
yeah. I actually just corrected it now. I realized I was thinking about the problem wrong, and I was when I was initially doing it, I was trying to make something where you can put an input and do it, but I realized I used the wrong logic for it. But I have a more simple approximation for it, so I can share my screen and show it.
Oh, okay. You can quickly share your screen. So
Yes.
Joseph, you wouldn't mind me reviewing your work on the call, right?
No, that's fine. No worries. It's all
Okay.
good.
So it's just the equation here.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So that is it. And The question said you should, give
Print
you
it.
the number of decimal point that you should have, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
here.
So when you are asked to do something like that, you should know that should beg for a question like, how can I approximate to the nearest, or how do I say that in English? When the question asks you to make your answer in certain number of decimal places, I think that should beg for, okay,
Oh,
how can I
I
do
see.
that in Python? And when you have a task like that, you should also, you should always notice that when you have a problem, there's very likely an existing function for that particular task. For rounding off a number now, there's a function for that. And the name of that function is round.
Right. So would it be like, if I remember correctly, it would be like something like this?
You can do that. You can use that also, but there's a function. This is just like a shortcut. This is more like a shortcut, but there's a function itself, which is called round. But this also
Okay,
works. This also works.
sorry.
Dot 4f, just put dot 4f, I think. Yeah.
When I was looking through the F string documentation for the homework, I saw that. I remembered it.
Yeah, this is going to work. If you run this, it should work. It worked, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I can see your screen. I don't know.
Oh, yes, sorry. This is not here.
Okay, awesome.
All right. Like, for example, for me, can you explain to me, like, step by step, you know, like in terms of like the print and you put print and F and the result of the multiplication is, but I want to
Yes.
understand the F in the bracket, what it stands for.
Okay.
And
Don't worry. I think
Yeah.
we can do that while doing the correction.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to start from the very first question.
Oh, okay, okay, thank you.
Go ahead. Let me go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, all right. So well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job. Well done too.
Actually, this is actually very encouraging from the people that submitted. It's like I said, like I'm always saying, it is not very important. I'm not always after you having the correct thing. It will be my job if you get it correctly at once. But the fact that you're able to attempt these things is what is actually encouraging. At least I know that, okay, if I give you something, you are going to work on it.
Mm,
And that is actually what makes you better.
that's right.
Yeah. So let me quickly create a file. Call it SOLN, just like solution.py. And let me do this. Let's say, onto the side. Okay, all right. So the first question says, print a box like the one below. This is actually like very straightforward. You you're just asked to write a program that is going to reproduce this structure you have here.
That's right.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. So there are different ways you can think about it. But to write it before you write your program, I said it's best. It's always required that you think of the solution of how you're going to do it. And you should
Mm,
understand the problem first before thinking of how you're going to solve it.
that's
The
right.
problem here is just, it's just asking you to reproduce a pattern.
Mm,
Reproduce a pattern. You are outputting that program. You are printing. You are showing it out, right? That means you need the print statement.
that's right.
Like you'll be using the print function because you want it to show, right? So you need the print statement. And so let's get that width. We have a print statement, and this is what we are outputting. This
Hmm.
is a character.
Hmm.
This is a character. So it's, it makes sense that it's going to be, if you're going to reproduce it, I mean, we're going to put it in a string format. And to reproduce this, you have to look out for the pattern. So the pattern is that you have stars, series of
Hmm.
asterisks being repeated one, like a row of it. If you count this, I think it's going to be 19, right?
That's right.
So you have 19 asterisks being repeated in 4 lines.
That's right.
So, I mean, without even, let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Pretty straightforward. Being repeated 4 times. Then you can say print, bam, bam, bam.
Hmm.
You save it. If you run it, you have your solution.
That's right.
Yeah. But that is not one way because you've been taught about, I mean, last week, I think I've given you this work before teaching loop. But now, based on
Hmm.
your understanding of loop, this also works fine. But for more readability or to make things easier, you wouldn't want to, it doesn't make sense when you have to repeat the same line of code multiple times in your program. What if this is like 100? Will you have to
That's
like
right.
do, repeat it 100 times? No.
Mm.
So this is one way. Let me leave it at this. This is one way. Then this is another way. Let me copy this before I do. This is another way to say, you remember the pattern for for loop, right?
That's
Do you remember the syntax for writing our for loop? You can check your slide. You can check your slide.
Yeah. So you basically want to do 4x in like whatever the array is.
Joseph, yeah, thank you, DT. Joseph, do you want to try? Do you want to help us?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No,
And
the way I did mine, I did it differently. I did print, then I put bracket, then the semicolon, then I put the star, the arithmetic inside, multiplied by 19.
that is another way. I mean, there are many ways you can achieve this, but the most important thing is that you're able to arrive at the same solution at what is expected.
Mm.
Remember, I made an illustration one time that if you're trying to prepare rice, some may use you know, some may decide to watch the not even let me not even use that one now. If you're trying to prepare rice, some may
Hmm.
decide to use well water, some may decide to use uh I mean some may have to go and fetch water from the well to come and wash the rice. But some people will have tap in, I mean, we already have tap in their kitchen. Regardless
Hmm.
of what approach or where you are finding I mean, you are getting your water, regardless of what tool you are using. The important
That's
thing is that rice should be ready at the end of the day.
that's right. That's right.
Well, some steps are more easier than the other.
That's
Some
right.
may be like an overkill. I mean, you would not want to prepare rice and start calling a water service, asking them to bring you a tank of water. You wanted to rinse your. It's good. I mean, of course, you need water also, but having to call the water service to bring water for you, like a tank of water, because you want to cook your rice, you want to cook 2 Congos of rice, is like an overkill. You are going overboard.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
right. Yeah, exactly. So when you're thinking of a solution, always a lot of approaches will come to your mind. And sometimes there's a high chance that you are going to implement the first one that comes to your mind. But after you've done that, try as well to also think of, okay, is there another way I can do this? If time permits you, think of, okay, is there another easier way? Could I have done this in a more simpler way?
Mm.
I think that will always help. So I
Okay.
think going by your own, another thing is you also know that, okay, you can do repetition of a string. So it wouldn't make sense to even have to even repeat asterisk itself.
That's right.
I will have to just repeat it 19 times.
19. Yeah. That's how I did it.
I mean, this is actually very okay compared to the first one I did there. So 19, yeah. I mean, this is also going to work. You see, it also works. And let me even show you something. Using just a print statement, we can have the same statement, that we can have the same result using just a print statement. Yeah. So I'm printing four. I'm having four string values here, right? You're seeing that. Like I'm separating them by a comma. Remember, you can pass as many messages in your print statement. You know that, right? In your print function.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm just saying this is 30K multiplied by 19. This is one string. This is another string. This is another string, and this is another string. Now there's a parameter in print function. There's an argument you can pass in a string function called sep. It means the separator.
Mm.
Yeah. So that separator, whatever you specify in this separator, is what is going to determine what will separate each of these string values. You know, this is one string value. This is another string value. This is another one here. This is another one here. So whatever you specify as the value of this sep will determine how those messages you've passed in your print function, how they are going to be, how they are going to come out. And now, if I do this without the sep command, let's see how it's going to come out. Everything is going to come out in just one line. You see, by default, each of those values are separated by space. You
Mhm.
can see that, right?
Mhm.
This is 19. This is another 19 separated by a space, another 19, and we have them in 4. But what I want is I want the separator to be a new line.
Okay.
Instead of just a space, I want the separator to be a new line. And there's a way you specify new line in Python. New line, you use /n. Not just in Python, I think in all programming languages, but even in yeah, I think in HTML too, you use /n. So /n means new line.
Okay.
Yeah, it means new line. And I'm passing that as the separator. And I'm saying use new line to separate each of these values that I'm passing. And new line, of course, new line means the next line. So that means after each of these character, after this one, you've printed this, let this one showed in the next line. Then the one that follows all show in the line that follows, like that. And if I do this, you see the result, right? Using just a print statement.
Hmm. Baker/n. Okay. Did you learn on that one last time or no? Or
No,
that
no,
one
no.
is in-
I didn't mention this. I didn't mention it.
Oh,
I
okay.
wanted you to make a research. It,
Oh, okay.
it was even part of
Okay.
the question. I mean, I asked you to use it in one of the, yeah, number 5. I asked
Okay.
you to use it in number 5. So because one thing is you would never be taught everything you need to know.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So sometimes you need to make some, I mean, about the rand function, I mean, when we get there, you also see that I wanted you to make a little bit of research to realize, okay, there's a function we can use to round things off. Yeah. So that is that about that. And also, again, if you want to use for, I mean, this is like the easiest, I can say this is like the simplest solution.
Mm.
So, but then you can also use for loop. And before I did that, I said, sorry. Before that, I said, I asked you for the syntax for our for loop, which
Is
I
that
showed us in the last class.
is that print number?
Yeah, the
Oh,
syntax is always for,
for
followed
number.
by
Okay.
an iteration variable, which could be
Okay.
anything, and the n keyword, then followed by the range. Range is where you specify the sequence, the number of counts, the number of times you want your block of codes to be repeated.
Okay. That's the for loop. Okay.
Yeah, that's the syntax of for loop. Basically, just saying for,
For
let me
number.
say,
Yeah.
let me just say n, we can call it n or anything. N, then range. How many times do we want to, so blocks of code, the block of code we want to repeat, the block of code we want to repeat is this, print asterisk,
Mm.
and asterisk is being printed in 19 times, right?
Uh-huh.
19 times, yeah. So this is the block of code because when you're using your for loop, how can we use for loop here? You see that, okay, we have a pattern that is being repeated 4 times.
Mhm.
I wouldn't expect you to use for loop for this. It's going to be an overkill, like to get this.
Okay.
I mean, this 19, because this is just coming in the line. Or this is like if I mean I don't know how else I can say this, but you cannot use for loop to achieve this. For loop can achieve this, but it wouldn't make sense at all.
Mhm.
It's like you want to go from your kitchen to your bedroom and you want to take flight. So yeah, I mean, this one can be easily typed out, but the part that seems like a repetition, like a very complex repetition, is this one being repeated multiple lines.
Okay.
And even for this kind of solution, I wouldn't use a for loop. I wouldn't use a for loop. But then, like I said, the important thing is that you arrive at a solution. You arrive at the expected solution. So this is the block of code we want to repeat. Let me I want to like show you the thought process to arriving at the solution. So we have this, we're already getting this correctly. Now I want to be able to repeat this 4 times. This thing that is coming, we want to be able to do it 4 times. Then we
Mhm.
say for n in, this is the syntax for writing your loop, your for loop range. And inside your range, you enter the number of times you want it to be repeated. How many times do you want it to be repeated?
Like, is that the one you said 19 times or the
No, no,
19
no.
times?
This is already covering for the 19 part. The
Oh,
print
four, four
statement is
times. Four,
aesthetically
four times.
4 times, right? Yeah, cool. So we can
Yeah.
do 4. This works fine. What other thing can we, I mean, how else can we specify that we want it to run for 5 times or for 4 times rather? DT, you can also contribute, please.
Yeah, sorry. Um, so what I did for this was that basically, because I already knew that the line of asterisks would be roughly the same shape each time, I just had it go through and did the asterisk times the amount during the entire loop.
Yeah.
Like that was the body of
I,
the loop.
I saw what you did. You actually take it a bit further, but I mean it's cool. It's cool. So what I'm asking now is this is one way of specifying that we want our for loop to run 4 times. So I want us to tell me another way we can specify it to run 4 times without using this for.
Without using four.
Yeah, I don't want to I mean, if I put 4, it's going to run 4 times. But there's another way you can make it run 4 times
Without
without,
using four.
yeah, without using 4.
Uh,
I mean, to save our time, you can also say 1, 6.
oh, because the array will be equal to that length. So
Yeah, it's going to be equal to that length. When I say range of 1 to 6, 1 is included, followed by 2, 3, 4, and oh, sorry, it should even be 5, not 1, 6. It should be 5.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
okay. Okay.
5 is like the stopping point. And remember, your stop number is not always included. So it's only going to go from 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And after you've specified this, you have to put a colon.
Okay.
Put a colon. That shows, okay, this is the end of my for loop statement. But is this going to run? Like, is this correct? Joseph.
I mean, the print is highlighted, so that means something is wrong somewhere.
Yeah, something is wrong. Well, based on what we discussed in the last class, what do you think is missing? What's the error there? Let me give you like an expo or like an int. Let me give you an int.
Okay, print values.
I see.
Oh,
Uh,
do we oh go ahead, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead,
No,
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 DT.
no,
you
say
can,
your
no,
mind.
you can. Yeah, yeah.
And in ranges for a function and print values object.
Okay,
Oh,
let's DT, do you want to help?
It's not properly indented, so it's not part of the function loop.
Exactly. So remember, I said in the last class that the block of code you want to repeat, the block of code you want to repeat must be
mhm.
indented. you must have it indented like this. That is, instead
Oh,
of having the next line of code, instead of the line of code that you want to repeat, instead of having it start from the very beginning of your, line of code, you
yeah.
must press enter. It must have an indent. It must be indented. That is how Python knows that, okay, this is the part I want to be loop. This is the block of code I want to loop. I want repeated. Anything outside this for loop will not be repeated. Anything that is not indented after that will not be repeated. But let me
All
see.
right. Can you take it back where it was? Because it highlights a little bit. So I wanted to see when you point your at the print word.
Okay,
Now it
when I
just did that. Yeah. Then
this
you
right.
yeah. So
You
if
see,
I'm looking, yeah,
okay. So you
I'm
see,
trying.
even it says expected indented block.
Oh, okay. That makes
So that
sense.
was the hint I showed you. So when you are using your for loop, when you're calling your for loop, it's a rule. It's not something you can bargain or anything. A block of
Mm,
code that you want repeated.
okay.
All this, whenever I tell you a rule, just know that it is absolute in a way. It's just
That's
like the
right.
rule of that thing. It's not going to change.
Okay.
So for the block of code you want repeated, it must be indented.
That makes sense.
So, but this, this line now is not indented, so it's not going to be repeated. We are out of the scope of the for loop now. We are out of
Mm,
that scope. But anything that starts from this line under this for loop like this is going to be repeated. If I come into if I create another thing and I say print Gideon, Gideon is also going to be repeated. So the way the thing is going to run is the first time it's
mhm.
going to say print this asterisk multiplied by 19. It's going to print asterisk 19 times, followed by Gideon. Then the second time it's also going to print asterisk 19 times, followed by Gideon. Like that. So these two blocks of code is going to be run 4 times.
Okay.
Let me show you so you see. So you see what I'm saying. Print Gideon 19 times. The first time the code runs, you have these two. The second time, you have these two. The third time, you have these two. The fourth time, which is the last time, you have these two.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So back to our solution now. This is not there. This is not there. So we are saying we want this thing to go 4 times, and we've already done that. And if you do this, you have the same solution as we've been having before. So you see that.
Hmm. That makes sense.
If you could not, I mean, you can't think of this right now, at least you understand every other solution.
That's right. That's
Okay,
right.
I hope you would have like got a glimpse of, I mean, got a grasp of this. And also this now. So the only thing that might be confusing is the use of this SEP. But just know it now that there's something now that you can add to, we call it an argument, a parameter, another input that you can specify in your print function, which this is
Hmm.
how you write it. The name of that parameter is called SEP, which means separator. And what value do we want SEP
Okay.
to hold? This is how it's going to be. If you look at the print function now, you can see the documentation here. You already have this SEP here, you have end. These are like the list of what we call parameters or arguments you can pass. So
Okay.
tomorrow now, if what you want to do has to do with this SEP, the name is not going to change. It is still going to be SEP for life.
Okay.
Yeah. Instead of new line, let's say I want this to be separated with, see what the result is now. Let me see what the result is now. If I run this, you see how the result came out, right? So let's say I want the separator to be something else. I want it to be an hash sign. You see how it's going to come out. You see?
Yeah, I
It is now being
see.
separated using hash.
Hmm.
So that is the work of the separator there. I think we can move on to the next one to save time. We are like 35 minutes in. So for the second one, uh, this is also, like I said again, we are just repeating a pattern. We are just reproducing a pattern. There are
That's right.
many ways we can do this, but if you want to go by this very crude approach, Like this one, I don't think anybody should like this is like should be the one that will come to everybody's mind. The least one you can about it, the simplest one to arrive at. So this one is just going to be you want to reproduce the same thing, right? So
That's right.
you can just put space, and for the last one, you can put an asterisk there. Okay, you see it is well aligned. Yeah, I think that's cool. So we can, I mean, and let's also repeat. What am I doing? Let me not mess with. Yeah, let me just make it another. Yeah, let me comment this. So if I run this, voila, we have it.
Mm.
And again, to save time or to save, let's say we want to, we don't even want to repeat anything.
Hmm.
We can, can you, Joseph, can you tell me another way we can do this? We can achieve this.
Yeah, the way that I did it opposite. So I kind of like concatenate. So I took the long way, you know.
With your newfound knowledge now from the first example, can you think of another approach now that we can use to achieve this?
Like using the range, the for loop.
Is it going to be easier? Do you think the for loop will be easier now? At this point, the for loop is not going
I,
to
th
be,
I think it'll be harder.
it will be harder to use for loop. Now, for loop is going to work, but it will be harder because uh, the pattern does not really seem to be, like the first one, the first this thing that is being outputted looks
Yeah.
straightforward, but the
Uh-huh.
second one doesn't follow the same pattern. You have like two different, this looks similar, but it is not in sequence, it is not in order.
That's right.
Yeah, it is not in order. So that might, but aside using the for loop, which other way can you think of?
I kind of like use the long way for me. Like on the first one, I just said like multiply by 19 in the first
Okay.
line.
The first one multiplied by
This
19. Okay.
yeah, arithmetic 19. And the last one I said this I did the same thing.
For this also 19. Okay, we've gotten
Yeah.
that out of the way. So how
Uh-huh.
can we uh,
Then
asterisk 19?
yeah.
How
I
can we
felt like
achieve this?
yeah, I felt like the way you did it for compared to mine, yours was much simpler than mine because I kind of like put a plus sign in between and some, some commas all the way. That was the way I understood it.
Yeah, I see. Forget about whatever you've done now. I'm thinking
Okay.
of based on your newfound knowledge. I believe
Okay.
you followed what we did in the first part.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, can you think of another way that you could have done this now?
Like I changed those two, then the central, then the
Okay, let me also say this. You know concatenation can also work, right?
on the first and on the second line, right?
Like the first or the second one, concatenation can also work, but it's just going to be very tedious in a way. You have to be doing plus, plus, plus 19 times.
That's how I did it, the second one. So the first one I just did it like that. Then the second line I concatenate in between. That's how I came up with mine. Like, but it was like so long. It took me forever.
Okay. So let me just, because of our time. So
Mhm.
one pattern you can notice here is you already know this asterisk is 19, right?
19, yeah.
This for the second line, and you see the pattern, the length and the width is quite similar
Still
to
the same.
this one.
Yeah,
But
still
the
the
thing
same
is
thing.
that instead of asterisks here, some
Uh-huh.
asterisks have been replaced uh with spaces.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And you agree with me that the number of spaces you have here should be equal to 17
That's correct.
because the asterisk here occupies takes one. The length of this should be 17, 19 characters.
That's right.
You already have two characters being shown, so the spaces should be 17.
That's correct.
So that means we can have something like this and a comma and say, or you can even do plus. In this case, you can do plus and say space. multiply by 17. Then you can do another plus for the last asterisk. So that is going to reproduce that line. And if we run it, you see, voila, we have it.
Okay.
I'm saying this asterisk plus 19 spaces, I mean, plus 17 spaces plus the
That
last
makes sense.
asterisk.
That makes sense.
And I mean, I like the way DT did something. He declared a variable called width. He called it 19, and he was just saying, what was it called? Asterisk multiplied by the width. And
Okay.
for this, he said space multiplied by width minus 1. I'm sorry, width minus 2,
Okay.
which is going to give us 17, right?
That's correct.
Everything still works fine.
You put a variable. Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Oh, that's
Sorry,
nice.
I think we need like yeah, so it is mixing things up. So we need like a parenthesis to demarcate this mathematical computation.
Yeah, that's an easier way.
You know the reason why I had to put this demarcation here is I realized this was giving me an error. It was saying I can concatenate a number, an integer with a string, which is correct because initially it was it was doing this, it was trying to solve this, which is not the order in which I wanted to solve the expression. I first of all wanted to do the calculation here and resolve at a number. Then whatever it resolved into here should be multiplied by the space before going on to do the addition and the other additions.
Okay.
If you remember, see, all these things still follows the fundamental rules we were saying. All these things are all the things I said during when we're talking about numbers, like the
Yeah.
order of operation and everything, still applies here. Let me quickly show you what I was explaining here. If I have this is like an expression. Oh, let me show you. Let me call these outputs. What we want is what we want is this.
Mhm.
Sorry, so this is what the kind of output we want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, so this is the kind of output we want. And to achieve this, the pattern is that you have an asterisk, one asterisk, followed by 17 spaces,
That's
followed
right.
by another one asterisk.
That's right.
Cool. So to achieve that, that one asterisk that started it, this is it. You can choose to say count, 17 spaces like this, but I don't want to use that 19 spaces. 17 spaces. I want to show that, okay, I know some other ways I can use to do this. So after the first, and remember, you can add multiple strings together to form one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one way we can do this is to add asterisk to spaces. And to do that, you use your plus operator. We want to add it to spaces, 17 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17. Followed by another asterisk, right? So plus that asterisk that follows. It's going to it's going to give us the pattern we are looking to get, this pattern here. But
Okay.
I now say, okay, 17 spaces, that looks like a tedious work. It's just like
Yeah.
spaces in 17 places. So there's another way that Python allows us to do that, which is by repeating it 17, multiplying repetition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see that space now, multiply it by 17. But
Mm.
we already have a variable called width, which stores the width or the length. I mean, I think it should be length actually, but which basically stores the number of characters.
Up to 19. Yeah.
Yeah, which stores the number of characters up to 19.
Hmm.
So to do that, we want to be able to get this 17, and this is 19 already. The width is what covers for this. This is 19.
That's right.
Yeah. And to get the number of spaces that we have here is going to be 19 minus 2, because we already have two asterisk occupying their spaces, occupying
That's
their
right.
position.
That's right.
What is left here is going to be the count of these two asterisk minus the actual length, what the actual length could have been, which is going to be
That's right.
width minus 2.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So if we now put that width minus, replace this 17 with width minus 2, we expected it to give us 17, right? That is
That's right.
space multiplied by 17.
That's right.
But remember your PEMDAS. The order of operation of numerical mathematical operation in mathematics is PEMDAS, which means parenthesis first is going to solve everything inside the parenthesis first, followed by exponential. That is, if you have raised to power,
Mm.
it's going to solve that next. After that, it's then going to solve for multiplication, then solve for division before doing addition and subtraction. Now see what is going on. See what is going on. And that thing also applies to this. Width minus 2 is not going to be getting solved first. Multiplication comes before addition.
Mm.
M comes before addition. So it will be doing 19 multiplied by spaces first.
Mm.
It's going to be 19 multiplied by spaces first. And after that 19 multiplied by spaces, what follows is division, but we're not doing division here. So the one that will follow is addition.
Addition. Yeah.
Now it's not going to be saying 2 plus asterisk, which is an invalid operation in Python. You don't add a number and a string together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not going to follow the order of operation. Now I want Python, we now wanted Python to know that, okay, solve for this one first, width minus 2. First of all, calculate width minus 2. So we have to put them in parentheses, because we know that according to the order of operation, whatever you have inside parentheses is going to be executed first.
Mm.
So which is why we have width minus 2. And that width minus 2 is now going to give us 17. Parenthesis is of this thing now, followed by now multiplication, right? So after that 17 will now be multiplied by the spaces.
Mm.
Then the other, we have that, this has been resolved into 17 spaces. Then
Mm-hmm.
it will now be added to the first asterisk, then
Mm-hmm.
followed by the last asterisk. And that is why at the end of the day, you're going to have this exact pattern that we want to print out.
That makes sense. Okay.
So that is that about that. And for this, again, you can use a for loop for this. And for the third one, you can use a for loop. But if you don't want to use a for loop, do you even know one thing? You can even just create a variable and call it pattern, and say asterisk, 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 and I can say print path. With just one string, I designed my pattern inside a multi-line string value. Remember we talked about multi-line in the last class. So the way you go about solving both of these problems is, you know some of the fun. We already talked about some things. You've been given some tools in the class, and now you have a problem. What I'm testing you, or what I'm asking you to do is think of all the tools you've learned and see the one that applies to arriving at the solution you are looking to get. I give you an hammer, I gave you an hammer, I gave you nail. I told you what nail could do. I told you what hammer could do. I told you what a screwdriver could do. I've taught you how to use the tools. Now I give you a problem. I said my window is spoiled. Or let's say a wood has removed from my window. If you're going to do that, you can now say, okay, how can I help you with that? What you want is the wood that was removed from your window, you want it to be fixed back. To do that, then, I've been told about a nail, and I know that a nail is used to nail something to the wall, like it's used to pin things together. My nail could work in this case. So you bring in your nail, then I need something to use to, drive the nail into to paint the wood with the window or whatever. I've also heard about uh what's it called? An hammer. Like I know about an hammer and I have an hammer, something. I've been told about hammer and what it does. So that means an hammer should be able to work in this case. Then you try it out. If you arrive at the solution, good. If you didn't arrive at if that didn't work, you can say, okay, let's say an hammer will not work in this case. Or yeah, can I use a screwdriver? Does the nail has like a position to screw it? Oh, this works fine. That means this is the solution. So there are different ways you can achieve it. But the way to go about it is to say, okay, from everything we've learned now, how can I use those things to like arrive at this solution? I think that's just I'm trying to explain my thought process now. That's just how you think about this solution. This is one way. Another way would have been to another one would be, for loop is actually going to be interesting in this case. And that will also, help us to even shed more light into how you can use your for loop. Remember your syntax for I in 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, like I want it to be repeated 4 times. Range of 4. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, all right. For I in range of 4.
Indent.
So
Okay.
this is actually will be tricky to Joseph. Remember, I think in the last class I showed you what I is going to be holding. I is an iteration variable. It is the value. It is the variable that holds the count. And if I do this, you see, the first time I is 0, the second time I is 1, third time I is 2, fifth time I is 3. What manipulation can we do to give us something like this? Look at this pattern also. The first line, the asterisk is 1. Second time, the asterisk is 2. The third line, asterisk is 3. Fourth line, asterisk is 4. Can you see a pattern there?
So
as you come down,
uh-huh.
the count of asterisk increases.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So you could as well say, okay, just like this is like mathematics. Right? This is what some people will say, like, if you're not good in mathematics, though it's not a valid, it's not a fact. Some people say you have to be, you should be good in logic or something like that. But you can learn to think in logic. So
that's right.
But what I'm saying here is you can say that, okay, this is looking like the first time they multiply asterisk with 1. The second line, they multiply asterisk with 2. The third line, they multiply asterisk with 3. Fourth time, they multiply asterisk with 4. Now, I've been taught how to use for loop. And I know that each time my for loop runs, the counter holds the counter is actually going to be counting each run. The first time the counter is 0. The second time the counter is 1. The third time the counter is, but here now the count is 1, 2, 3, and 4 actually. How can I make my counter to actually follow this trend? Remember I said you can do mathematical operation on your counter. You can add 1 to it. Let's see the results. Instead of before, it was 0, 1, 2, 3. But because now our counter, we are adding 1 to it. We now have it as 1, 2, 3, 4. That is the first time when I equals to 0, add 1 to it, then I will come as 1. The second time the for loop is running, I is going to be 1. This is the first time, let me, in case you're not getting what I'm saying, the first time I is 0.
Mhm.
We want to print I, right? But while we are
That's right.
printing I, we say add 1 to whatever the value of I is. So that
That's
is why
right.
at that first time we have I is 1.
That's right. That's
Then for
right.
the second time the for loop runs, I is what? I is 1.
Mhm.
Let me, range of 4. When you say range of 4, what we are saying is 0, 1, 2, 3. You are saying what for loop is basically saying is range of 4. This is range of 4. What you have in range of 4, 0, 1, 2,
That's what,
3.
yeah.
You
For,
are now saying I go over each of these, assume each of this value one by one.
uh-huh.
So the first time I assume 0. The
That's
second
right.
time I assumes 1.
One.
Third time I assumes 2. The fourth
Mhm.
time, the last distance on the thing is 3, right? I
That's
assume.
right.
So the code is not going to stop, the loop is not going to stop until I assumes all the digits
Mhm.
that you have in your range.
That makes sense.
And now you know that I is assuming each of these one by one. And I'm not saying we want to print out the value of our high, but at the point of printing it out, just add 1 to it. Mind you, adding that 1 to it does not change the initial value, the inert value of I. I still remains whatever number it is assuming. We are only adding 1 to it at the point of printing it out. I don't know if this thing is making sense to you. So
Yeah,
now
I think yeah,
yeah,
I think yeah, I think for I think I got this point now. When you said like for I in range up to 4, then when you put print I, then you said like without I was 0. But when you add 1, now we are assuming I is 1. We're not starting from 0 anymore. So it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4
no, it
instead
is
of
I is still starting at 0. Okay,
Mhm.
let me do this. I'm adding 2 to high.
Okay,
2, 3, 4, 5. What
that's
happens?
right.
I still remain, I doesn't change. The range of
Mhm.
4 is still 0, 1, 2, 3. The
That's
first
right.
time, I is still 0. The second time, I is 1. The third time, I is 2. The third time, I is 3. I mean, the fourth time, I is 3. It is
Mhm.
only at the point of printing it out.
Way it changes. Okay,
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 we want to deceive the viewer now. Let's deceive
that's
the
right.
viewer. So
Uh-huh.
let's not show them what the actual value of I is. Instead of
Okay,
what the
okay,
actual value of I is, add a certain value to it.
okay, okay. That makes sense. That
But
makes
inside
sense.
the code, I still remain, the actual
To
value of
0.
I still
Okay,
remain what it is referencing.
0. Okay, okay.
Yeah. So the first time now, you know all this now. So now on this, okay, our initial code is we want to add 1 to, whenever I want to print I out, we always want to add
Mhm.
1 to it. So the first
Okay.
time I is referencing 0. When we
Uh-huh.
are printing it out, we say, don't show them 0, show them 1.
Put them 1. Okay.
The second time, I is 1. The original I is now referencing this one here. But we
Mhm.
say, no, don't show them 1. Show them
Good.
2. Add 1 to it. So you should be showing them 2. I
That
is
makes
now pointing to these 2 from the range, not the 2 that we are faking. I mean, not the fake 2.
That's right.
The original 2. But we're saying, don't show them 2. Add 1 to it. Show them 3.
That's right.
I is now referencing 3 from the range. We're saying, don't show them 3. Add 1 to it. So I is now going to be showing us 4.
Mm.
And because that is the last, I is there's nothing else for I to assume. So the for that
Mm.
means the for loop has come to an end. Now, how can this knowledge now help us to achieve this? Mind you, we've been able to find a way to fake I, the value of I. And now it follows this, this is like, we said the pattern here is like asterisk multiplied by 1. Then the
Mhm.
next line, the second time asterisk multiplied by 2. Third time asterisk multiplied by 3. Then the fourth time asterisk multiplied by 4. We've been able to create a fake scenario where our high will always follow this trend. Now, what is left? Then let's do the multiplication at the asterisk multiplication. Say asterisk multiply by the fake scenario of I that we've created. That is I, the first time I is, this I plus 1 is going to be 1. Second time, this I plus 1 is going to be 2. So at that point, asterisk, the first time asterisk is going to be multiplied by 1. The second time asterisk is going to multiply by 2. So the pattern goes like that. And if you're curious about what the result is going to look like, what is going on? Print asterisk multiply by, yeah, there's no issue. What is the error? It says can only concatenate. Oh, okay. You see the same order of operation that we had, the issue we had the other time. So in that case, I can just, let me make it another, uh, let me say fake I. Let me call it fake I and say I multiply by, I plus 1. So that is like the fake I. Then I can now say asterisk multiply by the fake I. You see the result?
Mm. Yep.
Or if I don't want to use the fake I, let's say I want to have it like that, then I just need to like be able to tell Python that this is the order of execution I'm expecting. That is, I want you to resolve this first. Resolve I plus 1 first before you do the multiplication with asterisk.
Oh, you put it in bracket, that's right.
Yeah. So then we still have this. Can you see one scenario where the for loop actually comes into play now?
Yeah.
So not just in programming, in the real world, even in when you, I mean, if you learn carpenter, I used to be a carpenter, like a very good one. I used to build chairs and the likes. I think this kind of scenario, whenever if you're trying to solve anything, at least for craft, whenever you're trying to craft anything that has to do with craftsmanship, what you actually pattern is in the general world, we study pattern.
That's right.
We try to it is, I mean, we study pattern. And even like that is why you know when you born a child, they said you should introduce them to some games to boost the way they think. Most of those
Mm.
games actually helps to just help them to recognize pattern. And when you're trying to build a solution also, it is actually pattern, you're programming a pattern.
Mm.
Facebook actually tried to saw a pattern in people and they tried to create a program that will help, enhance people's pattern. They realized people like to socialize. That's one of the properties of a woman. We socialize. Facebook tried to model such pattern. Before the advent of internet, we used people relate, we talk together, but we had to be physically there. That same pattern, Facebook now said, okay, what if we can still do this thing? But can we can we create something similar to people, having people meeting each other and, relating and talking to each other? Can we do that? Can we recreate that pattern? It is recreation of that pattern, that human to human interaction that Facebook tried to, and even Instagram and WhatsApp try to replicate. But in this case now, we don't have to necessarily meet each other before we interact. We can do that remotely. But it is the actual natural model of people meeting with one another and interacting that brought about Facebook also creating something to modeling a solution after that. I think that's on a bigger distance. But then when you are trying to program also, you also always look for pattern. Always
Makes
look for
sense.
pattern. So then for this fourth one, we started one. This is two. Okay, so we have like 26 minutes. Any questions so far? DT, sorry, I don't mean to like sideline you. I just felt like you already understood most of these things, some of these things. So, are you there? Hello?
Were you talking to me?
No, not you, sir. I'm talking to DT.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Okay. I said, hope you don't feel left out.
Oh, no, I'm completely fine. I was actually in the meantime I was also practicing the extension and I submitted it.
Oh, okay, awesome. Awesome. So, Joseph, are you following any question?
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting it. I think it's like you said, like the technicalities, like when you say for I in range 4, then print I aesthetic, and when you're talking about I plus 1 in bracket, those kind of stuff things. I mean, it's helpful to kind of like know those technicalities, like the principles of the program.
Yeah. So
That
now,
that helps.
one thing that is going to help you now is you know something like this works, right?
Yeah,
So I think what I'm going to, I mean, I can't guarantee this, but look for more ways you can practice this. Just this
that's right.
particular scenario, look for certain, think of it. So, I mean, okay, if I do this, what's going to be the result? What's the result going to be like? Then try to run it and see.
That's right.
Yeah, I think
Because
that's,
the way I did mine, I did it like print, like I said, print aesthetic uh once one, then I did the same thing at the bottom, print aesthetic 2. I put 2 of the aesthetic, then print aesthetic 3, but it gave me the same answer.
okay, yeah, let me even see that. Copy the, okay, this is the second one.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I mean, this is
That's
also perfect. I mean,
okay.
this is perfect.
But the way you
But now
showed
you
me,
know of another approach you can use to solve it. Like this one is even more. If you submit it to a computer science professor, there's something we call space complexity and time complexity, which is
okay.
the time it takes for time complexity is how fast your code can run.
Hmm.
Space complexity is how I mean how do I put it now? How heavy your solution is.
Okay. Okay.
The for loop solution I showed you,
Yeah.
we take time to execute than this. In your own, I mean, in your own case, in your own phase now, you may think everything is getting executed in a microsecond,
Hmm.
but internally inside the computer, the for loop
Mhm.
actually takes more time to run.
Yeah, that makes it. I mean, even to understand it, for me to understand the follow, this one I understood it like it was like, okay, you just go 1, 2, 3, and that's it. But I think it's nice to know the other, like you said, there's no one way to do it. You can do it
Yeah,
so many ways.
there's no way. But I mean, this is actually very straightforward, and
Yeah.
it doesn't occupy more. It doesn't occupy as many space, and it also doesn't. It's not heavy, and it's also very like it runs very fast.
Okay.
It runs very fast. So this also works. So, I mean, this is good. So, I mean, I can just use your solution then I can try to just correct it. So for the fourth one, I think I already made I already said this. I know a lot of people will, will get this mixed up. So instead of that dot, when it is standing in the middle, it
Uh-huh.
means multiplication in mathematics, not just in programming now, in mathematics. So it
Okay.
means multiplication. And once you do that, I think it's going to follow the order of execution. Yeah, but if it doesn't follow the order of execution, it's always best to enclose it in. You already know this is, I mean, if this is given in mathematics, you know, like the first one here, the numerator is going to get executed first.
Hmm.
So it's also, I mean, even if Python is going to get it right, it's also very good to be sure, make sure when you're writing your code, make sure
Uh-huh.
you put it in the way you expected it to be. In this case, I want this to be executed first. Then
Uh-huh.
also want this to be executed first. And after that, whatever the result of this is, I want it to be used to divide whatever the numerator is.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, and if I do this, let me comment every other thing here. If I run this, we have our solution 0.0123. But the question says it is roughly 0.1017. That is, I'm expecting your solution to be this,
Mhm.
4 decimal places. So one way you can do it is to one solution, one approach is to use the rand function. There's a function called rand.
Okay.
It's a function, just like your print is also a function. It's a command. And what this one does is you give it a number or a decimal point, basically. You can give it an integer also, but it is expecting a decimal digit. If you say, I'm coming. Uh, let me comment this. So for that, if you say print, what happened here? Okay. So if you say print, oh, let me not use, so don't mind me, I'm not being decisive. So let me just do the demonstration here in the shell. So let me enter Python shell and say, if I say rand 2.4, and I say 2. No, sorry. Let me do it again. 2.456 or 445. And I do this. So I'm basically just saying round this off to 2 decimal places. Round, like I said, round is a function that takes a floating number. So the first argument is it takes the number you want to round off or you want to round up. And the second argument is the number of decimal places, the number of digits you want to round it off to.
Okay.
Yeah, that is how it works. It's a command in Python, and that's how it works. So now we have our result. Whatever the result of this is already being stored in what you call results. Now to say we can call these final. Let's call it final results. Final RES. As that's going to be rand. I said rand is a function. It takes what as the first argument. What does it take as the first argument? Joseph. The number you want to round off. It takes the number you want to round off. And in this case, what do we want to round off?
Result, right?
Result. Yeah, exactly. We want to round off result. To how many number of decimal places according to what we are asked to do?
4 numbers.
4 decimal places. And now we can print our final result. 0.1017, which corresponds to what we were asked to do. That is one way using the round function. But one other thing is Python also, there's a trick, a magic. It's a magic actually. That whenever you have for that magic to work, actually, you need to have your what's it called? I think it's only, I've never really tried it. Most of the time I don't use it, but it was the solution DT showed the other time, where you have your floats, you have your number. In this case, you have your number as your value, you have it included in a string. Mind you, the number should not be a string value itself. It should still be a number value that is being embedded. That means you either need to use format or you use the %s approach that we used the other day. And so if I do this results now and I put it here, this is what we call value embedding. That is, while the value is still retaining its property, we are trying to include it in a string value. So if you're going to be doing that, then you need like a trick. And the trick is in your format. Oh, don't mind me. There's a lot of ways you can do string formatting in Python. I think you already know how format works, right? Another way is this approach.
Oh, you put F at the beginning. Okay.
Yeah, you just put F in the beginning of your string, of your starting quote. You
That's
put
another
F
way.
there. And at that point, you create your curly braces like this, just the way you use your format. But instead of now having to use the dot format method, you just put the value directly inside your curly braces.
Curly brace. Okay. Then
Yeah.
okay.
So
Same
now
result.
you can now to now use the magic I told you about.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can say 4f dot 4f colon dot 4f and voila. Ah, sorry. Could it have been inside the? I mean, I'm having to rely on autocorrect for this. Oh, what am I doing wrong? So, okay. Yeah, you see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So while you're still inside your parentheses, so the reason why I was having it mixed up was initially, this is how you could, if you want to use the dot format, this is how you could have done it. Let me, yeah, this is one way. This is another way. If you're using dot format approach, then you're just saying this. You're removing results here, saying dot format. No, even with that, it's still going to be, I think, result. Okay, let's see if this is going to work. No, it's not going to work. Result. Yeah, I think it still has to, even if you're using the format, this still has to be there. It still has to be inside your curly brace. Yeah, it still has to be in your curly brace. Oh, no wonder. I didn't comment the other line. Okay. Yeah. So either ways you want to use, but if you want it to be 3 decimal places, just change the 4 to 3.
Three.
Trust me,
Okay.
I've these things are if not that DT used it, if I were to do anything random, I would most of the time I don't think of this approach. I just use the rand function.
Mm.
But if this is the first thing that comes to your own mind, if this is what you find, and even for me, in most of my code, you won't see me using this format. I use
Mm.
this F approach. I'm used to this using this F approach a lot. There are different ways, and they are. I mean, they give us the same. They don't even have like disadvantage or non-disadvantage. I mean, advantage or disadvantage. Either
Okay.
ones you want, anyone you want to use works fine. And the one that comes to your mind first, just use the anyone that, and even if it's concatenation that you think is easier for you to do, use concatenation.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, no, of course, you can combine F with format again. So that is that about this one. So for this one, the question says you should where's your solution?
Yeah, these are the one that gives me a hard time. So I was like,
Okay.
I was just stuck. The ones that I solved, that's the one that I kind of like understand. I was like, okay, I have an idea.
All right. So the question says ask the user to enter a number.
Hmm.
What is this one telling you?
The user to
Or
enter a
let's read
number.
the question, then you try to explain
Yeah.
what is expected. So ask the
Okay.
user to enter a number, print out
Uh-huh.
the square of the number,
Hmm.
but use the SEP optional argument to print it out in a full sentence that ends in a period. Let's say you didn't know, I mean, I showed you how the SCP this thing works, right? But let's say even before you, I mean, when you're trying to solve it, you don't know what SEP is. Let's disregard that for now. Sample output is shown below. That is what they expected. So when you ask user for a number 5, they want an output like this. The square of 5 is 25. Can you explain what the question is asking you to do?
So it wants us to print out the square of the number,
Start
but
from the beginning.
or from the beginning.
Yeah.
Ask the user to enter the number. The first thing is to enter the number, which is 5. right?
how do you get the user to, so the question now is, how do I get the user to enter a number?
Hmm.
How do you do that in Python?
So you write your syntax first, right?
Yeah, what command in Python do you use to ask a user to enter something?
You know the print,
What does the print do?
it put the function, print function.
What does it do? What does it do? It
It,
displays something to you. Whatever you give to it, it's going to display it to you. That's the work of a print.
okay.
Now, the question is asking you to ask the user to enter a number. After, I mean, we've talked about it so many times. If the function that you use to ask user for input is the input function, ask
Mm,
user to enter a number. That means you need to ask the user for something and ask them user, let's call it user number. I will say input.
then the
Input is
number.
the function you use to ask the user for something in Python. And
That's
the
right.
prompt you
Okay.
want to, I mean, we have to tell the user what we're expecting them to enter, right? So we say enter
The
a
number.
number. We've done that part. You now say print out the square of the number, but use the SEP. You said we should print out the square of that number. First, let's even, before we go on to print, let's create another variable to calculate the square. You can say user number sqrd squared. User number. How do you do square? How do you calculate square in Python?
Is that the two arithmetic?
Exactly. I'm glad you remember that. Double asterisk
Mm-hmm.
2. It means whatever the user enters raised to power 2.
Mm-hmm.
There's a problem, but the IDE didn't recognize that problem now. And I mean, we're also getting it, but there's a problem that we're going to encounter later on. So after that, the question now says print out the, okay, he said the output should be like this. The square of whatever the user enter is this. So let's also now print it. The square of what the user enter, right? How can we achieve that? How can we achieve that? We want what the user enters.
Print this.
We want to print out what the user enters. How can we write that print statement? Am I just going to say print? Am I going to say print for, I mean, the square distance of 5 is 25. Is that what I'm going to put?
No.
Of course, because you don't know what the user is going to enter. So how can we include what the user enters in this string value?
Do you put in bracket then use the number squared?
Tell me, just don't try to give me a vague answer now. Tell me step by step. We want to have something like this, and we want to put what the user enters as part of this string value. How
Okay,
can we write? What code are we going to write for that?
the square of I have no idea. I'll be
Ah,
lying.
ah, we've
You see,
been working on this
that's
thing. We need a
that's
placeholder.
okay.
We need a placeholder. We want to put a variable there. We expected to put a variable there. That means we need a placeholder to something to, that placeholder, the dot format method or the %s that I showed you on Tuesday. What they do is to embed value into a string. That is,
Yeah,
you have a value, a number value. You want to embed it as part, or not just a number value. Now, you want to be able to embed any variable. You want to be able to embed a variable as part of your string value. That's when you use this string formatting or %s or dot format method. So in this case, we want to be able to use what the user entered, the variable that holds it. That means we need a placeholder here. And also in this case, we also need a placeholder to be able to put the number, the square of it. So that means we need this.
The placeholder again, then.
Yeah, then at the end, dot format. There's a problem. I expected you to point it out for me, but we'll run it down. We'll see what the problem is. Now, you see this. This looks like a good solution, even though we are disregarding SCP parameter now. But we'll see that if we run this now, if I enter 5 as it was given, like a sample value is 5, there's an error. And the
And
error
so,
is that unsupported operand type for asterisk or PAL, string and integer. Remember a rule I said, input always returns string value, not a number.
so you can have a string and integer together.
Exactly. So because I don't know, I'm expecting a number and it could be a float or an integer. But to be on the safer side, it makes sense to convert our input, whatever the user enter, it makes sense to convert it to a float.
Oh, then
Using the
bracket.
float function. And like that, whatever number the user enter is converted to a number, a numeric number, to a numeric value rather. And of course, that is when we can now be able to do square operation on it. But because it was string by default, when the user enters it, input takes it and converts it to a string value. That is why we had this error saying that you cannot do raise to power on a string value.
Okay.
And now with that, if we run this, we'll have a solution. Enter a number. If I press 5, you see the square of 5.0 is 25.0.
Okay, user number, input, enter number. Okay.
Which is cool. But now the question now says the question is asking you to do something specifically with your syntax. It's saying use the sep optional argument to print it out. I've talked about I've explained how the SCP works, right? I said it is used to separate when you are using your print statement and you pass many values to be printed, many string values to be printed. The SCP parameter there is used to what is it called? Is used to specify the separator. Now, because the value wanted us, because the code asks us to use the SCP parameter, we will not be using this approach again. To use SCP parameter is going to be print. And if you're going to be using SCP parameter, that means you must have many string values or many values that is being printed in a single print statement. So the first thing is going to be the square of comma, followed by a number, the square of user number. That is another value that we want to print out, followed by is, followed by user number squared. Then it says it should be, there should be a full stop at the end. So followed by a full stop. So now we have a print statement that is trying to print out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values. A print statement trying to print out 5 values. And of course, what should now be the separator according to our the question? If you have, so what we've now, from the example solution that was given to us now, we already have this part covered, the sample, we have that value being printed. The sample of, we have that value being printed already. 5, so that 5 should be coming from this user number. We have that also. We also have that. 25, that is the square. The square, we also have that. The full stop, we also have that. What separates each of these elements? The square of, what separates it with user number?
Is that a comma? That's a comma, right?
No, from the result. From this sample result that we have here.
the square of is 25.
The separator is going to be a space because of our time. The separator is going to be a space.
Okay.
And if I put 5 now, you see, the square of 5.0 is 12.0. The question basically, the reason why the question asks us to use a SCP is so that you can know that there's a, I wanted you to make a research and to know how to use this SCP. But then I've used it before in an example here before.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know how else I can explain this, but you see
I
how
might,
the SCP works now.
yeah, I might have to go through the video again on my own and try to understand, the SEP.
Okay. Now let me give you another example. This one says, ask the user to enter a number X, use the SCP optional argument to print out X like this. That is, you want X, 2 times X, 7X, 4X, and 5X. Each separated by 3 dashes, like below. What are we going to start with, according to the question?
Uh, enter the number, use. Same thing like we did below, up above, pretty much. Like ask the user to enter the number X.
How can we do
So,
that?
use a number.
Don't give me vague answer. Tell me, I want you to dictate the code for me.
Use a number equals.
Okay, but in this case, let's not use the same variable name. The question kind of gives us an hint to the name of the variable. We can call it X
X, yeah.
equals to input. Can say enter, then inside is the prompt. We want to say enter a number, just like in the example given. Yeah. And of course, because we just finished solving an example, a similar problem, you know this is going to return a string, right?
It's a
So
float.
let's convert it to integer
Integer.
at this point. I don't want to use float again. Let's just use an
Okay.
integer. We solved that part that says ask the user to enter a number. Now it says use the sep optional arguments to print out X, 2 times X, 3 times X, 4X, and 5X. Just like this. Let's say you don't even understand the whole question now. This is what they're asking you to do. Write a program that is going to, let's say if you enter 7, it's going to give you something like this: 7, followed by then 2 times 7, dash, 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 2, 3 times 7, like that. So we already make sure whatever the user enters is already coming as a number. That's good. Then what we want to do now is to now say print so this is nothing else. We should have the value separated. Whatever we are outputting, we should have it separated by 3 dashes. And from your knowledge of SCP, you know SCP is actually what covers for these 3 dashes already.
Mhm.
But how can you get SCP to work with the values so that we can have something like this? Based on the example we've done, that means you want to have X first, comma, then we want to have 2 asterisk X, that is 2 multiplied by X, according to what the question is asking us. Then it will be followed by 3 asterisk X, that is 3 multiplied by whatever the user enters, followed by 4 asterisk X, followed by 5 asterisk X. And at the end, we want a separator, which is 3 dots. And voila, this is the solution.
Mhm.
Let's enter 7. And you see 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. If you run it again, if you enter 5, we have something. We have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So I think we already exceed our time. We are 4 minutes over the time. So hope I don't know. Next class, I would like us to just continue from. Well, I will talk with Pastor Wilfred to see if we can, because I just thought we were going to use 45 minutes for this correction. But I'll just see if next class if we can continue from here also, maybe. But that's just that about everything so far from 1 to 6. So this other one, I believe you got that correctly. You asked the user for a value in pound. Okay, you're going to have an error. You're going to have an error because your input, I said, is coming as a string. So all this multiplication is not going to work. But then the logic is very right. The only thing you got wrong is to just convert this to floats. Whatever the user
Mm,
enters, convert it to floats.
okay.
Yeah. And you are very good to go. So if you do 20 kg, sorry, I did not comment this. Let me stop running and so if I run this and I press, let's say 5 kg, so
Hmm.
that's 11 pounds. Yeah, you got that right. Then for this one, I mean, this one is pretty straightforward, very straightforward. You're creating a variable, ask the user to enter 3 numbers. You didn't do that too?
No, I didn't. I'll try and do that one because I wasn't getting it, to be honest. But I appreciate you taking time to go with me step by step, you know.
Yeah. So, but you can still, I mean, I'm still giving you grace. You can still try to attempt these things. Don't stop
Okay.
until you get it. Let's do it
Yeah,
that way.
definitely. I might
Yeah.
have to go over through the whole thing by myself again, just the questions without looking, and try to, do my research again. And because I think the more I keep on doing it, the more I kind of understand the terminology and the language
Yeah,
and
exactly.
be able
And trust
to
me,
understand.
once you pick it up, the sky is not even going to be your limit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go over through the whole thing again. This one.
All right. All right. So, thank you for your time and for your cooperation.
Thank you for your
I
patience.
hope
Appreciate it.
you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, DT, for your patience as well. Appreciate it.
Of course. It was fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, once you're done with the extension, you can submit as well so that I can review and
Okay.
give you a proper review. Yeah. So,
All
thank you
right.
so
Thank you very
much.
much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.